What's going on, everybody? I am Poseidon, and welcome back to Psych Reacts to Chris Watts. Today, we're going to be looking at the interviews leading up to Chris's capture. There's a few things that I want to point out in this interview. This is the first police interview the day after he murdered his family. This is from the channel Crime Vault, if you want to go check it out. There it is. And they have everything pretty much lined out. However, I want to point out a few interesting points that was discovered in this interview. First off, this is Chris Watts, obviously, and this is one of the detectives at the police station. So let's go ahead and hit start, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
You have to show.
Probably, you know.
Yep.
Do you have a preference?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm gonna go make a copy of this so we can look at it together.
Sure.
You good on water and food and all that?
I'm good on water, right? I'm good.
You hungry though?
I'm fine right now, thank you.
Alright. Alright, let's do this. I'm gonna sit next to you so we can look at it together. So what I'm gonna do is, we have a whole bunch of people coming in, you know, from your neighborhood. Somebody saw something, somebody knows where these kids are. And I keep saying kids, I'm sorry, you kids in your life. And I should say, I work these quite a bit, and so tonight, if I make one of those mistakes when I say kids instead of your wife and kids, I apologize. We work it a lot, and so I apologize if something comes out wrong or, anyway, so.
Alright, so real fast, I want to just point out the first minute that has went by. So, in the beginning here, the detective is across the table from Chris Watts. Some other officer asks the detective if they want the interrogation room door shut. The detective says, probably, and then proceeds to ask Chris what his preference is. This is to help Chris feel the most comfortable that he can. Understanding how to help the victim, the criminal, or anything like that feel at most comfortable so that they answer the questions with the most amount of ease. If this detective alerts Chris in any way of to where Chris thinks that he is the one being targeted and that they are onto him, he will shut down, lawyer up, and then the police get no further information. So right now the detective is trying to befriend Chris and make him think that they are on the same side. Also, I have these subtitles on. They're not the most accurate, but I hope it helps in some way, because I understand that this recording can be a little bit hard to understand as it's not the best quality. So as the detective leaves to go make a copy, he asks Chris if he wants anything to drink, anything to eat, you know, just again trying to make him feel at ease and the most comfortable that he can be, because being in an interrogation room, even as a victim, can be one of the most scary experiences in your life. There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of nervousness, there's a lot of tense feelings because you're surrounded by law enforcement, and that can be quite frightening, whether a victim or a criminal. So he's trying to relax him by offering him food, offering a drink, and Chris says he's fine, and he goes and leaves to take a copy. Now, when he comes back, instead of sitting on the opposite side of Chris, he decides to scoot behind him and sit on the same side with Chris. This is also to, again, help reassure Chris that he is not the target. So by sitting across from Chris, it acts as more of an interrogation than it is a team trying to figure something out. So by sitting next to him, it makes Chris think that they are on the same side, hoping to achieve the same agenda. Whereas if he sat across from him, Chris feels more interrogated, feels more attacked, and may up his guard to help protect himself. So by sitting next to him, the detective might be able to get more out of Chris, because Chris feels like he can trust the detective and tell him everything that he knows.
I'm gonna sit next to you so we can look at it together.
Let me sit next to you so we can look at it together. So again, he's trying to form that bond, that team. We're on the same side here. You can trust me, is what this detective is trying to form between him and Chris.
A whole bunch of people coming in, you know, from your neighborhood. Somebody saw something, somebody knows where these kids are. And I keep saying kids.
So he said somebody saw something, somebody knows where these kids are. So instead of making that connection with Chris and saying someone knows where your family is, someone knows where your kids are, he says these kids, and then he proceeds to apologize and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to come off like that. I just meant, like, I do these cases a lot, and if I say something wrong, I apologize for it. It's nothing intentional. And what he's trying to do is create that connection between Chris and his family so that Chris feels more connected to his wife and kids by saying your kids and not these kids, so that Chris feels more connected to his family, which may end up leading to a slip up. Because if Chris is disconnected from his family, it can help him think that the crime he committed is not as awful by disassociating himself from the situation. Whereas this detective is trying to re-implement that connection to his family so that he knows the extent of what's happening here. He's trying to form that loving bond between Chris and his family.
We work at a line, so I apologize if something comes out wrong or, anyway,
So he puts that out there to kind of make Chris feel bad because he says if I say something wrong or something comes out wrong or anyway, and he moves on. So he's already putting those thoughts in Chris's head, and then right here you can kind of see that Chris is like, shit, you know? He's kind of already thinking, my God, what did I do to my family? So this is already putting more nerves into him, which can help lead to later on slip-ups, mistakes, and a little bit of a guard being let down, which can help the detectives dig in and get the information they need from Chris that he is hiding from them with his guard up. So lowering the guard helps them get the information they need. Alright, so right here in this section, the detective again pulls another little stunt here. As you can see, he is trying to open up, tell Chris, let me know what happened, just let it all out, and then we'll go over it. So tell me your side of the story, what you saw, and then we'll look at it together. Now, after he does this,
tell me what happened, get it all out, and then once you get it out, let's go over it, okay? So just get it all out as far as this. Tell me exactly what you remember, and I'll take notes about where we can go.
Okay. So this 1:48 a.m.
He instantly starts to pick everything up and get up to switch chairs with Chris.
When they come knocking.
So he pushes Chris into the corner here, and then the detective takes this front seat. He asks again, do you need water? Trying to settle his nerves after making this change. So by putting Chris in the corner while telling him to recount his story and re-describe everything that happened, this makes Chris feel vulnerable. So he's literally putting him in that corner feeling. You're stuck, you're trapped, and that's how he's making Chris feel. But by asking, do you need more water, while making the change, it kind of helps relieve Chris just a little bit. So he's making these drastic changes while asking important information to throw Chris off his guard and try to make him slip up.
So when we were over at the neighbor's house the next day, we were looking at his camera as well, and it didn't show anybody walking up to the driveway. It was kind of weird. That's one reason I put that on there, because it showed Nicole dropping her off, but nobody actually walking up to the house. It was kind of weird, but she was in the house.
Okay.
So,
and what time are we talking?
This is still 1:48.
Okay.
So, 2 a.m., Shane gets in the bed with me. 4 a.m., that's when my alarm goes off for work. And
also, notice how Chris is reading his story from the paper. So when stuff like this happens, the police ask for the witness to write down their story so that they have it on file. Now, since Chris is reading from the paper, he's not actually recounting what happened. He's re-saying the story that he wrote. So this is a way for Chris to help keep his story straight, because if he were to recount it without the paper, some details may not add up, which would also put more pressure on Chris, because then the police are like, wait, you said this, but now you're saying this. So by reading from the paper, he's keeping his story straight. However, he doesn't realize that's making him look a little bit guilty, because if something truly happened, you would be able to recount that story over and over and over again without any changes being made, especially if it was like a traumatic event or something as important as your family being missing. So the fact that he's reading from the paper is already causing a little bit of suspicion.
In the bed next to her and start having a conversation with her about having the house up for sale and talking about actually proceeding with the separation. Okay. And obviously it gets pretty emotional. Like we're talking about, we felt this disconnection was there, like falling out of love and trying to stay together, maybe just for the kids' sake, but we're realizing that doing like our homework, it's not, most of the time that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And it gets pretty emotional because we have 2 beautiful kids and we have one on the way. So it's just a matter of it was very emotional. We were both crying, and at the end.
So during this whole section here, Chris is talking about an emotional conversation with his wife. Meanwhile, his wife and kids are missing, yet he's showing no emotion. So the detective backs up, faces his chair towards Chris to get the full view of what's happening. He's not only listening to his words, but he's watching his behavior as well. So if Chris is talking about, oh, this conversation was really emotional, we were both crying, it puts off a little bit of an odd feeling because Chris is not showing any emotion right now when both of his wife and kids are missing. So there's a little bit of a disconnect happening there. And the detective is trying to piece it together by not only listening to his words, but also watching his body language.
And so I went downstairs, made my protein shake. It was 5 a.m. That's when I did that. Packed my lunchbox, had my oatmeal, chicken, filled my water jug up. 5:15, I went outside, backed my truck up, was loaded up. Had my book bag, my lunchbox, computer, water jug, my big clear container. I put big clear containers in my truck so it's easy just to pull in, just depending on what I'm going to use. My O-ring kit, and I knew I was going to do some.
So in this section here, he's also giving a lot more detail of what he's doing during the time that he loaded up his wife and kids into the truck. He's adding more detail than he needs to because he's trying to justify his actions and the changes in his actions for backing the truck up into the garage. He's in his mind trying to not only convince the detective, but also himself, because he's trying to make the story seem as realistic as possible. However, adding this extra detail is just creating more suspicion against him.
Covered that day, so I got some various open wrenches from my toolbox. I know those would work better than the ones they would give me. Okay. 5:30, that's when I went to work. Okay. And I hadn't heard from Shanann for about 2 hours there, so at 7:40 I texted her and asked her if she could tell me where the kids were, if she took them anywhere. Okay. Nothing. Okay.
So he waited 2 hours after being at work to text Shanann, and because he already knew that he buried them and put the kids in the oil container, he already knew that they were gone, so he wanted to cover himself up by texting Shanann saying, hey, where are the kids? Is everything okay? That's just to be part of his cover story. It's not out of any genuine response. Hey guys, it's me from the future. We're gonna leave this episode off here and split this section again into 2 parts. So in the next part, we will get into the more nitty-gritty of the interview, where the detective starts to suspect Chris and suspect that his story is not adding up. So we will be looking at that section next week. So if you are watching and enjoying Psych Reacts, be sure to drop a like down below, hit that subscribe button, and turn on post notifications. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace!